the India and Canada diplomatic tensions on Khalistani issue. External Affairs Minister Jaishankar in an interview to ANI has said, and I quote, "The issue at heart is the fact that in Canadian politics, the Khalistani forces have been given a lot of space and also allowed to indulge in activities which I think are damaging to the relationship between India and Canada, clearly not in India's interest, but I would argue that they are not in Canada's interest either." So this is the statement coming in from External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar as far as the tension between India and Canada over the Khalistan issue is concerned. Let's listen in.
Suddenly we saw ties with Canada plummet. It happened literally within weeks.
But that...
What went wrong there?
That is, I think, I mean, I
it
honestly do not see...
during the summit.
Look, I do not see a correlation there, no? I mean, getting everybody around on a G20 has nothing to do with the Khalistani issue in Canada. I mean, the Khalistani issue is not a new issue. The Khalistani issue has existed for decades.
Why do you think that it has become such a thorn in the flesh for India-Canada relations, and why do you think Prime Minister Trudeau, for a handful of Khalistanis, has put relationship with India on the rocks?
Look, I can explain my government, my Prime Minister and my book.
But you're also an academic, you're also a diplomat.
I do not, it's not for me to speculate on other Prime Ministers, but I will tell you the issue at heart. The issue at heart is the fact that in Canadian politics, these Khalistani forces have been given a lot of space and have been allowed to indulge in activities which I think are damaging to the relationship, clearly not in India's interest, but I would argue not in Canada's interest either.
And CNN News 18's Abhishek Jha is joining us on this story. Abhishek, a very good morning to you. So a very strong statement coming in from the External Affairs Minister, who's saying that giving a lot of space to Khalistani forces is not in the interest of India, but is also not in the interest of Canada.
Well, of course, we have seen External Affairs Jaishankar, time and again highlight the fact that giving space to any political activity which is detrimental, and it kind of poses your friends and allies can never be a partner in your process. Again, this is what the issue of Khalistani at hand is. A company, a group of hardcore ghouls that gathered there for a political movement that openly calls for secessionist movement against India, a division of a state, a separation of a state.
All right, we'll try to re-establish that connection, but right now we're being joined by former diplomat Ashok Sajjanhar on the broadcast. Mr. Sajjanhar, thank you for joining us on the broadcast. So this statement coming in from External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar amid the tensions that continue to prevail between India and Canada, S. Jaishankar has said that the Khalistani forces have been given a lot of space in the Canadian politics and are also allowed to indulge in a lot of activities.
No, absolutely. I think this is the position that we have maintained. You would recall that when Justin Trudeau had got up in the Canadian Parliament on the 18th of September, just after returning from Delhi after attending the G20 summit, he had made this absolutely baseless allegation that there were credible allegations against Indian government involvement in the killing of Hardeep Singh Nijjar. Now, from 18th September till now, there has been no evidence that has been given. That is number one. And we've been telling the Canadian side that the space that you're providing to the Indian elements and, for them to carry on anti-Indian activities, secessionism, breaking the country, trying to break the country by establishing a new state of Khalistan, this is acting against the interests of India, and they need to clamp down on this. But Canada has been taking refuge under the guise of freedom of speech, freedom of expression. But obviously India is also a democracy, it's the largest democracy in the world. And we also understand what freedom of speech and freedom of expression is. It doesn't go so far as to advocate the breakup of another friendly country. So that is the biggest problem. Of course, as far as the allegations are concerned, we have not received anything whatsoever from Canada. That is what earlier also External Affairs Minister had said when he was visiting New York, that if there is anything specific or anything relevant that is provided to us, then we will definitely have a look at it. But so far, even after 18th of September, there is October, November, December, more than 3.5 months. And still no information, no substantive, concrete information has been provided to India. So obviously, Canada has to look inwards and look at its own policies rather than trying to ascribe blame to India for doing something on its own territory, which could very well be a case of internecine gang warfare.
Right, Mr. Ashok Sajanhar, please stay with us. Let's again listen into what External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar said about the ties between India and Canada.
To indulge in activities which
suddenly we saw ties with Canada plummet. It happened literally within weeks.
No, but that
what went wrong there?
That is, I think, I mean, I
It
honestly
happened
do
even
not
during
see.
the summit.
Look, I do not see a correlation there. No, I mean, getting everybody around on a G20 has nothing to do with the Khalistani issue in Canada. I mean, the Khalistani issue is not a new issue. The Khalistani issue has existed for decades.
Why do you think that it has become such a thorn in the flesh for India-Canada relations? And why do you think Prime Minister Trudeau, for a handful of Khalistanis, has put relationship with India on the rocks?
Look, I can explain my government, my Prime Minister and my book.
But you're also an academic, you're also a diplomat.
I do not, it's not for me to speculate on other Prime Ministers, but I will tell you the issue at heart. The issue at heart is the fact that in Canadian politics, these Khalistani forces have been given a lot of space and have been allowed to indulge in activities which I think are damaging to the relationship, clearly not in India's interest, but I would argue not in Canada's interest either.
Mr. Sajanhar, now coming back to you. So another important point that External Affairs Minister has made, that giving so much space to the Khalistani forces is not just is not in favor of India's interest, but also not in favor of Canada's interest.
No, absolutely. I think there's a very valid point because if you look at it, there has been this killing of Hardeep Singh Najjar. That, of course, brings law and order into under a big question mark. There are problems on that. There was another killing of Ripudaman Singh that happened also in Canada. So if there is this sort of a warfare, if there is this sort of the result is basically, as External Affairs Minister put, Canada providing more space to anti-Indian elements. And amongst them also there are different groups, and they also have conflict with each other. So it is definitely not in the interest of India, but it's also not in the interest of Canada, because if you look at it, if they are holding these demonstrations and these protests, and there is this law and order problem taking place, the threats that they are issuing to Indian diplomats, Indian High Commissioner, even as far as the Indian political leaders in India are concerned. So obviously it will create law and order issues within Canada. So it definitely is not good for them, and it definitely is not good for India, and also not good for the bilateral relations.
All right.